Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be breaking down our next matchup for UFC 322. In this one, we have an absolute banger at middleweight as Roman Kopylov takes on Gregory Rodrigues. Kopylov is 14-4 as professional, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Meanwhile, Rodrigues is 17-6 as a professional, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Looking at this matchup, you have it's going to be one of those fights that quietly hides real danger between some calm exteriors. Two men built very differently, both physically and both physical in their appearance and kind of psychological in how they approach the fight. Right? But they have one goal in mind: control through violence. For Kopylov, it's all about his rhythm and timing, clean technique, measured patience, and that sniper sense of when to pull the trigger. Greatest example of this was when he fought Claudio Ribeiro with that beautiful head kick in the second round. Meanwhile, you have RoboCop, who is something else entirely. Kind of a walking paradox in some sense. He has absolutely great grappling credentials, but he's mostly known for his striking and knockout power, and a technician who thrives in chaos. A man who seems almost serene before he lands something absolutely catastrophic. I'm thinking of his latest win, which was the knockout of Jack Hermansson, which was really fucking scary. At UFC 317 this June, when Rodrigues landed the left hook on Hermansson, Hermansson was already out. And then Rodrigues just came in, Khalil Roundtree style, and landed one more hammer fist. It looked like he killed him. So I can tell you this right now, this is not a strikers versus grappler matchup. It's timing versus precision and composure versus persistence. Oh, that being said, let's break down these styles. So looking at Roman Kopylov, his style is built around control of space. He doesn't rush, he does not chase, and every step is very measured and calculated. Fighting out of the southpaw stance, which he does very well, specifically that rear body kick, it is his foundation, and that straight left of his is a fucking weapon. And the way he disguises one with the other is really what makes him dangerous. From a technical standpoint, Kopylov's striking is sharp and disciplined. He fights like a man who trusts his geometry. He knows his lines, he knows where he wants your head to be, and he uses small feints to guide you there. You watch some of his earlier fights, and you'll see how patient Kopylov is. He's very good at probing with the jab from southpaw, hanging just outside of range, then whip that body kick over into the ribs and or liver. He actually has a few finishes via body shot, like against Josh Frem. That's a good example with that punch to the liver, or the kick to the body he landed on Poliori Soriano, which sort of add the snowball effect to the finish. And once you start reacting to Kopylov, the left hand follows right down the middle after the body kick. He's also very good at range management. That's something that kind of gets overlooked because his knockouts draw the attention, but it's the range management that Kopylov's able to have that creates them. As you see, Kopylov doesn't really brawl that much. Now, he can get into one. You saw with the Chris Curtis fight. But most of the time, Kopylov wants to keep his opponents at the end of his strikes, reset quickly, and make you pay for overcommitting. But there are some limitations. Kopylov's grappling defense is all right. There have been times where he's gotten out-wrestled even with the Sambo background, but he's also mostly a striker. And while it has improved, it's still lagging behind his striking. And when forced to extend into extended clinch sequences or ground exchange, he does tend to slow down. His hips are strong, but his ability to scramble out of bad positions or defend deep grappling transitions have shown holes in the past. I'm not saying he's helpless on the mat. His whole game loses its rhythm there. He's a striker who needs time and distance to build patterns, and grappling can take that away. Not to mention, even in the striking, if Kopylov gets pressured too much, his volume and output starts to falter. That's what happened in his latest fight against Paulo Costa, where Costa just marched Kopylov down kind of fearlessly and was able to nail him multiple times in their fight. It also, you saw in the grappling as a deficiency against Anthony Hernandez, who, granted, is a fucking monster, the cardio machine who just does not stop moving forward. But still, Kopylov made some mistakes in the grappling. Now, he did as best as he could, did a good job fighting the hands for as long as possible, but Hernandez was simply too much. But so that is something that really takes into consideration for someone like RoboCop, who is a really good grappler. Now, looking at RoboCop, he is one of those fighters who walks into the cage and instantly changes how you think the fight's going to go. There is a heaviness in his presence, I feel, and that kind of confidence can only come through years of being forged in deep waters. A black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but like I said, honestly, you wouldn't even know most of the time Rodrigues is such a high-level grappler or by the way he fights. Rodrigues is very comfortable trading punches with just about anyone, and when he connects, the fights usually change immediately. I mean, he's brawled with the likes of Bruno Ferreira, Jared Cannonier, and so forth. So it really goes to show how much he relies on his power and striking. And I mean, shoot, he was also striking with Christian Leroy Duncan, though at the same time mixing in his grappling. But what makes Rodrigues fascinating is the balance. He's learning to strike with patience and aggression. And early in his UFC career, he would wade into exchanges with his chin high, just going for just kind of having a slobber knocker. And while that made him terrifying, it also got him hurt repeatedly. And over time, though, we've seen a more composed Rodrigues, one who's willing to build his shots instead of just forcing it. Plus, he's also huge for the division. It's at 6'3" with a long frame and broad base, I should say. Rodrigues carries power just about in every strike he throws. His jab is stiff, his right hand is concussive, and his knees up the middle are brutal. But underneath that violence, there is a technician there. He's not just a crazy brawler. When he gets to like top position, he is very surgical. Well, and Rodrigues' control from half guard is textbook. Good shoulder pressure, slow advancing, calculated transition. He doesn't really need to chase the submission, and as the position itself is draining. You saw with like Dennis Tululin how he was able to ride the position very easily and eventually got the elbow that hit Tululin kind of at the Mohawk line and led to the knockout. Rodrigues also has underrated abilities to mix in his striking into his takedown entries. He's good at throwing a 1-2, forcing his opponents to shell up and use that momentum to shoot underneath or clinch against the fence. He's not the fastest wrestler in the division, but once he gets a grip, he is heavy and effective, that's for sure. And his jiu-jitsu doesn't just threaten submission, it does change the way his opponents are going to strike, because when they know a takedown or scramble is lurking underneath, every exchange, there is a moment of hesitation. Now, of course, he's got his flaws too. Ooh, and he's been cracked before. That's the main worry about Rodrigues, is that he's been knocked out multiple times, like against Cannonier, the 4th round TKO, against Bruno Ferreira. He's been knocked out plenty of times. And has also taken a lot of wars. He cuts very easily. Like Chidi Ejikwani cut him, Christian Leroy Duncan cut him, Jack Hermanson cut him. Rodrigues gets cut in almost every single fight he has. And he gets drawn into wars that just don't suit him at times. And his defensive awareness in long exchanges can fade, especially when fatigued. But he is a fighter who learns from those moments. He's been hurt or beaten, and he has come back better. You've seen it. You've seen with Bruno Ferreira, he went on a great 3-fight win streak. You saw when he lost to Cannonier, he just beat Jack Hermanson. He does improve. Now, when these two meet in the octagon, it's a battle of two kinds of patience. For Kopylov, patience is external, measured, minimal, and based on precision and rhythm. For Rodrigues, his patience is more of internal, forged through chaos, built on the willingness to know you're going to be in uncomfortable, and you just got to keep moving forward with it. Early in the fight, I expect Kopylov to dictate the tempo, use that, like I said, that rear kick from southpaw, touch the body, circle away from Rodrigues' power hand, which would be his right hand, and his goal will probably to keep Rodrigues at mid-range, where he can see the shots coming and control the rhythm. The danger for Rodrigues early is walking into that left straight while trying to close distance, because Kopylov doesn't need much volume. He needs just that one moment, and he's good at finding them. Like I said, watch Claudio Ribeiro. That head kick he landed was perfect. That's the best example of how Kopylov doesn't need to throw that much volume, just needs that one shot to change the fight. But over time, Rodrigues' persistence can change how this fight goes. He doesn't need to take a few to give one, especially if he lets him get inside and initiates the clinch. But I think that's where the tides might turn. Kopylov's clean technique can start to crumble when the fight becomes more physical than technical. When it's less about perfect timing, and more about endurance and resistance. And that's usually where Rodrigues lives for in these types of fights. I think once Rodrigues gets inside, he will mix in his striking and grappling, kind of a similar game plan to Christian Leroy Duncan. He might not even need like the cleanest double leg or upper body lock. Uh, yeah, man, can't talk today. But really, just forcing Kopylov against the fence can be enough. And from there, his top control can be a nightmare. I mean, he can get, like I said, not just the double leg, but also upper body lock or trip. He's very good at that. You saw with the shoulder or the hip toss Rodrigues used on the Iron Turtle, for example. Even if Kopylov does get backs up, that effort will tax his cardio. And Kopylov has shown to slow down in 3-round fights before. This fight is also very much about composure. Both men are very calm, but in different ways. Kopylov is more strategic and trying to think his way through the fight, while Rodrigues is comfortable in the fire and doesn't mind when the fight gets messy or just those brawls. You know what I mean? In a clean fight, Kopylov is lethal. When the fight's dirty, and like that dirty boxing, just, trading one to give one, that is kind of the fights Rodrigues thrives. In over three rounds, a middleweight division rarely gives you those type of clean fights. So for my official prediction, I'm gonna go with Gregory Rodrigues. The way I see this, the first round, I think Kopylov will look very sharp, laying great kicks, manage range, and possibly win the opening frame with just clean strike alone. But I think by the second and third round, I think Rodrigues is going to be able to change the narrative. The cage being able to use really good pressure or walk Kopylov down, mix in feints, and make the exchanges a lot more uglier. Maybe even land like some really good clinch strikes like the knees and elbows, and go for takedowns as well. I think once Rodrigues starts getting his timing, his pressure is a snowball's effect. Doesn't really need to chase the finish, but it might come anyway. Ground and pound, a heavy elbow for top position, or I think a late TKO, honestly. The most likely outcome, though, for me, I think Rodrigues gets a finish second or third round. I leaning towards knockout. He's mostly a knockout artist, not as much a submission artist. I just think the physicality, the variety of threats that Rodrigues brings, and the ability to transition from striking and grappling should overwhelm Kopylov once the fight stops being a clean technical fight. So once again, for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Gregory Rodrigues. I'm going to pick him via late TKO, second or third round. But with that being said, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. If you like the video, like and subscribe, right? And leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win. But until then, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see you all next time.